What if everything you think you know, the vast expanse of your reality, were nothing more than an intricate chimera, a shadow projected onto the canvas of your perception? What if the stars that dot the infinite blackness of the cosmos, far from being mere celestial jewels, constituted the gears of an ancient machinery, a construct whose purpose has remained veiled to common sight? I dare to pose a question that few dare to whisper. What if the very notion of a planet, as we conceive it for one of the ringed giants of our solar system, were a distraction, a fallacy that conceals its true nature? Here, on the threshold of a revelation that defies scientific and spiritual orthodoxy, we are about to pull back a millennial veil. Today, the voice of truths guarded for ages will resonate, offering you a key to unravel the arcana of your own existence. This is not a simple story. It is an invitation to the inner alchemy of thought, to an epiphany that promises to reconfigure your understanding of the esoteric universe and your place in its intricate tapestry. Spiritual enlightenment does not arise from the comfort of certainties, but from the audacity to question that which has been imposed upon us as immutable. This journey is for intrepid souls, for those whose thirst for knowledge transcends dogmas and whose consciousness yearns for true liberation from invisible chains. We will delve into the labyrinthine paths of a bold thesis that Saturn, the Titan of the rings, is not merely a celestial body. We will explore the disturbing possibility that it is, in essence, a cosmic prison, a sophisticated system designed not for astronomical observation, but for the confinement and recycling of souls within the limits of the material plane. We will strip away the skin of mythology to reveal the rawness of Cronus, the god who devours his children, a living metaphor for devouring time, for relentless judgment, and for the incessant cycle of birth, death, and most crucially, repetition. What if reincarnation, revered by many as a path of evolution, were in reality the most subtle and effective of deceptions? We will confront the idea that this cycle of rebirth, this samsara, is not a progression, but a mechanism of infinite repetition, a sophisticated trap to keep souls tied to this sphere of existence, perpetually unaware of their true power and origin. Our gaze will fall upon Saturn's physical anomalies, that enigmatic perfect hexagon that dances at its north pole, those strange and pulsating radio emissions that defy conventional explanations. Are these perhaps the indelible imprints of a design, of a construction that transcends the natural? An archaic signature etched into the ether that whispers an uncomfortable truth to us? We will unveil the omnipresence of the black cube symbolism, a geometric figure that emerges with perplexing frequency in the most diverse religions and rituals, from the Kaaba in Islam to the Tefillin in Judaism. Is it a mere coincidence, or the hallmark, the imposing signature of Saturnine control over matter and therefore over our palpable reality? We will explore how the archetype of Saturn, with its symbolism of law, structure, and restriction, has infiltrated and manifested in the vestments, rituals, and hierarchies of the major religions and justice systems of our world, delineating the contours of the cage in which we, unconsciously, dwell. The Gnostic perspective will offer us an invaluable lens to understand the demiurge, that false creator who, according to these ancient teachings, erected this material world as a prison, with Saturn as the relentless guardian, the ruler of this confinement system. What if Saturn functioned as a vast frequency transmitter, emitting a constant signal that modulates our perception of reality, keeping our consciousness encapsulated within a limited bandwidth, thus sustaining the illusion we take for absolute truth? The key to liberation, I assure you, does not lie in physical struggle against tangible walls, but in the awakening of consciousness, in the ability to observe the system without identifying with its mechanisms, without being absorbed by its deceptive dance, because ultimately, The most formidable of prisons is not built with metal bars or stone walls, but with the invisible threads of ingrained belief systems, unquestionable dogmas, and limited perceptions that we have accepted for generations as the only and monolithic reality. Freedom, true and radiant freedom, is found in recognizing the illusion, in tearing the veil, and in daring to look at what lies beyond. If you feel the irresistible call of the unknown, if your soul resonates with the promise of a truth that defies the established, I invite you to immerse yourselves unreservedly in this abyss of knowledge. Leave your footprints in the comments, share your first intuitions, and crucially, subscribe to this channel. Allow your consciousness to expand, for together, step by step, we will unveil the veils that have separated us from our authentic essence and power. The true exodus of the mind is just beginning. Are you ready to awaken to Gnosis? We have spoken of veils and a mental exodus. But what if I told you that these veils are not accidental, but part of a much more elaborate cosmic architecture? Here we delve into the heart of an ancient mystery, a truth whispered in the confines of collective memory. The notion of Saturn, not merely as a gas giant, but as a sophisticated structure, an intricate mechanism designed with a singular and transcendental purpose. Some esoteric traditions, forgotten or deliberately obscured, posit that this ringed colossus, which the ancients called Cronus, not only devoured his children in myth, but in a deeper sense, operates as the guardian of a cycle, a kind of energetic customs house, or, to be more direct, a cosmic prison. Its vibratory field, its rings, its gravitational and electromagnetic influence intertwine to form a kind of psychic barrier. And what does this barrier contain, or rather recycle? Souls, brothers, and sisters of the path. It is said that, at the moment of transition, upon leaving the carnal envelope, consciousness fails to fully ascend to higher planes, but is intercepted, its energy redirected, its memory purged, and its fundamental essence propelled back into the cycle of earthly incarnation. An infinite loop of birth, life, death, and rebirth, confined to this dense plane, the third dimension, for the perpetual generation of a specific energy. Think of ancient mythologies, where Cronus, devouring time, was the central figure. Is not time, as we experience it here, one of the most impenetrable bars of our prison? The chains of karma, the wheel of samsara, concepts present in various Eastern philosophies. Could they be distorted echoes of this same underlying reality? In Gnostic texts, there is talk of archons, entities that interpose themselves between the soul and its divine source, manipulating reality. Could Saturn be the epicenter of this matrix, the great architect of this perpetual illusion? The question that inevitably arises is, for what purpose? Who benefits from this uninterrupted cycle of soul recycling? The answers, beloved seekers, will lead us to even deeper terrains of cosmogony and metaphysics, to the understanding of energy as a universal currency and consciousness as the most valuable resource. If our vital energy, our experiences, our emotions are harvested and processed, then who are the harvesters? And even more crucially, how can we break the cycle? Understand that this vision, though disturbing to a mind accustomed to comforting dogmas, does not seek to instill hopelessness, but quite the opposite. It seeks to light the torch of self-observation and self-liberation. If we are part of a system, the only way to transcend it is to understand its rules, its blind spots, its control mechanisms. It is a call to raise our frequency, to expand our consciousness beyond the limits imposed by this cosmic customs house. The true knowledge of Saturn, beyond astronomy, is the knowledge of a frontier. Are we destined to cross it, or to revolve eternally in its captive orbit? Next time, we will delve into the details of how this vibrational illusion is constructed, and, more importantly, how our own frequency can be the master key to open doors of this vast stellar prison. Are you ready to defy the guardian of time and reclaim your true cosmic legacy? We have spoken of the guardian of time, of the cosmic customs house that processes our essences. Now, it is time to name the ancient force that encrypts the designs of existence on this three-dimensional plane. Cronus, the Saturn of the Romans, the god of ages, who, in his rawest and most revealing mythology, devours his own children. But what does this visceral, disturbing act truly mean for our understanding of the universe and our own destiny? Make no mistake, beloved seekers, this is not a moral fable. It is an archetype, a master key that opens the doors to understanding a fundamental cosmic mechanism. Cronus is not simply an ancient god. He is the personification of chronological, linear, inexorable time. He is the very structure of material reality, the limit, the judgment, the law. And his children, are we not the souls who, again and again, are born into this cycle of manifestation only to be finally consumed or reabsorbed by the matrix from which we come? Imagine the energy of your consciousness, your experiences, your deepest emotions, your dreams and your disappointments as nourishment. The great cosmic clockmaker, Cronus, ensures that nothing escapes his cycle of gestation, maturation, and finally reabsorption. This image of the god devouring his progeny is a powerful allegory of the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth that governs life in this sphere. It is a reminder that everything born within this system, sooner or later, returns to its origins, to be processed, to be recycled. But the depth of Saturn goes further. He is the great architect of tangible reality, the structure of matter, and the guardian of the karmic laws that bind our existence to the wheel of samsara. He is the lord of limitations, of trials, of arduous lessons that, paradoxically, forge the soul. Every obstacle, every experience that challenges us to the limit is a manifestation of his energy, a divine chisel seeking to polish the rough stone of our consciousness. The question that resonates in the hidden chambers of our being is, are we destined to be merely food in this cosmic banquet of Cronus, or is there a way to transcend his devouring influence? Forbidden texts and the whispers of ancient Gnostics suggest that the act of devouring his children is not a punishment, but the expression of a principle of control and energetic maintenance. If time devours everything, and Cronus is time, then what is it that cannot be devoured? The answer, my dears, lies in transmutation, in the inner alchemy that elevates the frequency of your consciousness beyond the domains of linear time. Saturn rules linear time, but there is a qualitative time, a kairos time, an eternal instant where his power vanishes. Mythology tells us that one of his children, Zeus, managed to escape this fate, subverting the order established by Cronus. This is a key symbolism, the higher consciousness that manages to elude the cycle of REA, BSO-RPTION. It is not about fighting Cronus, but about understanding his nature and transcending his dominion. Saturn's judgment is not a condemnation, but a constant evaluation of our evolution. The control he exerts is the limit that forces us to look inward, to find freedom where time cannot reach it. But how does this alchemy manifest in the human soul? How are the wings forged to rise above Cronus's banquet? And what does it truly mean that consciousness is the only treasure this guardian cannot devour? The next revelation will unveil the intricate paths of the sovereignty of being. You have questioned how to transcend Cronus's banquet, how to avoid being devoured by time. And here, precisely, one of the great illusions, one of the densest veils covering the truth of your being, is revealed. Many believe that the wheel of samsara is a natural path of evolution, a predestined journey to purify the soul through countless lives. But what if this perpetual spiral were merely an ingeniously constructed trap, a mechanism designed to keep vital energy within a closed system? Ancient Gnostics, those who dared to look beyond visible creation and popular dogmas, spoke of archons and demiurges, entities that manipulate material reality and human perceptions. Could the cycle of reincarnation be one of their most brilliant stratagems, an invisible prison forged of ignorance and the illusion of progress? Imagine for a moment a great energy harvester, a field where souls upon death are subtly redirected, their deepest memories purged or fragmented, and then driven back to incarnate, not to learn new lessons in a transcendent sense, but to generate more of the same energy, the emotions, desires, sufferings, and mundane joys that feed the invisible ones, those who do not have direct access to the vitality of the incarnated. Soul. Each life, each cycle of joy and suffering, each mundane experience generates a particular energetic vibration. If this energy is the sustenance of some parasitic entity or system, then the goal would not be the ultimate liberation of the soul, but its perpetual production and recycling. Cronus devouring his children is a resonant metaphor for this system. Linear time, ruled by Saturn, becomes the conveyor belt of souls, a continuous flow that feeds what resides beyond the veil of our ordinary perception, an entity or force that feeds on the drama of human existence. We have been taught that karma is the driving force of this wheel, the cosmic justice that impels us to improve and settle past debts. But what if the dominant interpretation of karma has been distorted? If karma is perceived as a perpetual debit, a debt that can never be fully settled, or that is renewed with each new incarnation in a cycle of cause and effect that keeps. US tied to material density, then evolution becomes an excuse for incessant repetition. It is not an ascent to higher planes of consciousness, but an endless rotation on the same dimensional plane, a spiral that seems to advance, but only recirculates the same energetic raw material. The true alchemy, the authentic transmutation of which we speak, does not lie in accumulating good deeds to ensure a better reincarnation within the same system. It lies in awakening to the nature of this illusion, in recognizing that your divine spark is prior and superior to any imposed cycle, to any karmic debt manufactured to keep you imprisoned on the wheel. It lies in the original memory, the memory of your true sovereignty. So, how is this wheel broken? How are the invisible threads that bind us discerned and the chain of this perpetual return cut? Is memory the true lock and full consciousness, devoid of veils, the only key that opens the door to the true sovereignty of the spirit? And what if, upon liberating ourselves, we discover that the universe is even vaster and the traps more subtle than we had ever conceived? But what if the chains are not just ethereal, woven into the ether of consciousness, but have cosmic anchors, physical marks on the loom of the universe that we can observe with our own eyes and decipher with? Our instruments? We have delved into the veils of karma and reincarnation, but now I propose we turn our gaze towards a gas giant that dances at the periphery of our system, a celestial body whose mere existence defies conventional explanation and whispers secrets of an incomprehensible architecture. Saturn. Behold Saturn, the guardian of the rings, who not only wears a crown of ice and dust that shrouds it in an aura of enigmatic majesty, but at its north pole dances a geometry that defies all natural explanation. A perfect hexagon, an immense crystalline form, of planetary proportions that persists through turbulent atmospheric dynamics, immune to the chaotic forces that should dissipate it. Is it perhaps the signature of a builder, an imprint left by an intelligence that organizes matter in ways that escape our understanding of purely random physics? This hexagon is not merely a meteorological curiosity. It is a constant, an anomaly. That demands a revision of our premises about planetary formation, and not just the geometry. Its depths emit a symphony of radio waves, rhythmic pulsations, whistles, and crackles that have baffled scientists. These Saturnian radio emissions are strange, with patterns that seem too organized, too deliberate, to be mere random electromagnetic discharges from a gas giant. Do they perhaps resonate with a frequency that denotes intentionality, a communication, or perhaps an operating signal of a cosmic machinery designed for a purpose we can barely begin to conceive? Remember, in ancient cosmogonies, Saturn, Cronus to the Greeks, was not only the god of time, but also of order, of boundaries, and even of confinement. He is the archetype of the great restrictor, the lord of karma, who imposes structures, and cycles, the one who marks limits and responsibilities. Is it a mere coincidence that this planet, associated since time immemorial with limitation, structure, and linear time, exhibits such geometric and energetic singularities that defy chance? Or did our ancestors, with their less veiled vision, perceive in it a function, an operative reality that we, in our scientific blindness and our obsession with randomness, have forgotten or relegated to mythology? If the karmic wheel is a reality that keeps us bound to material density, and if existence on this plane is, at some level, a program of learning or containment, could Saturn be not just a symbol, but a kind of node, a control station, or a beacon for the maintenance of certain energetic and vibratory cycles in our solar system? Could the hexagon be a seal, an energetic configuration that resonates with a specific frequency, a cosmic tuning fork that harmonizes the vibrations of this realm, or even a portal to other dimensions, a door guarded by the very principles that govern material manifestation? I urge you to look beyond the official explanation, to question the narrative of the random formation of the cosmos that has been instilled in us. What if nature is a term we use to describe systems whose complexity exceeds our imagination? Systems that are, in themselves, works of divine engineering or of an intelligence of galactic scale. Could randomness be the veil that covers the art of creation, or even the design of a sophisticated control structure that orchestrates the cycles of incarnation and planetary vibrations? If geometric patterns are the language of creation, and if radio emissions are its voice, what are these anomalies of Saturn revealing to us? Are they a warning, a forgotten key to understanding the cosmic architecture that surrounds us, or a reminder that the laws of this universe are more intricate and deliberate than you have dared to imagine? And what if, by decoding Saturn's signature, we begin to unveil the true architecture of the prison we have been talking about, or perhaps the blueprint of an exit door that has always been in plain sight, hidden in the obvious, waiting to be recognized by those who possess the key of perception? And if the cosmic architecture we spoke of is such a concrete and omnipresent manifestation, how do you think its most tangible signature, its most direct imprint on the material plane, on human experience, reveals itself? I will guide you to a geometric form that stands as the emblem of this influence, a symbol that, across centuries and civilizations, has whispered a profound truth about the structure of our reality. The black cube. Observe closely, my initiates, the omnipresence of this form in the most sacred sanctuaries and in the most ancient rites. It is no coincidence, I assure you, that the Kaaba, that epicenter of Islamic faith in Mecca, presents itself to the world as an imposing black cube. Millions of souls on their pilgrimage circle around this structure, an act of reverence that, in its essence, does it not imitate the movement of planets around a sun, or that of souls around a gravitational center, an anchor point? What energy is gathered and radiated from this cube, if not attuning with the vibrations of Saturn, the great architect of form and limit? The Kaaba is not just a building. It is a container, a focus, a matrix that channels and concentrates, a physical manifestation of the presence of what governs materiality and time, a structure that invites consciousness to orbit its law. And Let's not stop there. Let's turn our gaze to the tefillin, those small black leather boxes that practitioners of Judaism tie to their arm and head during prayer. They contain scrolls with sacred passages from the Torah. A black cube on the forehead, the seat of mind and will, and another on the arm, the extension of action and strength. Is it mere coincidence that they are black, that they are cubical, and that their purpose is binding or connection to divine law? Is this not a powerful and explicit representation of Saturn's control over thought and action, over mind and body, binding them to the precepts of a structured order, of a time, and a law that must be observed and respected? These objects are not just external rituals. They are metaphorical diagrams, tuning devices that anchor the individual to a specific frequency, to a cosmic contract of material manifestation and karma. The cube, in its purest geometry, is the archetype of matter, of stability, and of containment. On the physical plane, it is the Platonic solid that symbolizes Earth, the tangible, that which has defined form and limits. The color black, for its part, is the total absorption of light, the veil of the unknown, but also the primordial womb of all creation, the void from which everything emerges and to which everything returns. When we combine the cube in black, what message are we decoding? We are seeing the physical manifestation of the Saturnine principle: structure, limitation, time, karmic law. It is the seal of form, the prison of matter, but also the discipline that allows mastery. Could it be that these ancient traditions, in their esoteric wisdom, have bequeathed these symbols to us, not as mere objects of faith, but as keys to understanding, the invisible architecture that shapes our existence? And what if the repetition of this form in such disparate cultures is not the result of fortuitous coincidence, but the signature of a guiding intelligence that has sewn its codes in the fabric of reality, waiting for those with the vision to see and the mind to inquire, to unveil its true purpose? And what if these centers and bindings are not just for devotion, but for the channeling of energies that, without realizing it, reinforce a matrix of control over our perception and our freedom in the vast theater of existence? What happens if, by decoding the truth behind these forms, we begin to glimpse the true purpose of our incarnation within this black cube of material reality? And it is here that the veil begins to tear, revealing the subtle but omnipresent imprint of this archetype, which recalls Saturn on the tapestry of our most sacred and secular institutions. If matter is the prison and discipline the path to mastery, how does this principle manifest in the structures that govern man's soul and social body? Let us look, my dear seekers, at religions, social orders, and justice systems, and you will see that the Saturnine spirit of law, structure, and restriction is not an external force, but a matrix woven into the very heart of their existence. Consider the vestments, those ritual garments that distinguish the efficient from the common person, the judge from the litigant. Observe the predominance of the color black in cassocks, monastic habits, judicial robes. Is it a coincidence that the attire of those who administer divine or earthly law, who guard tradition, or who judge transgression, is often of the same hue as the primordial cube we spoke of, the color of total absorption, the color of end and beginning? This black not only denotes solemnity or mourning, but is a potent symbol of the denial of the worldly ego, of the suppression of individuality in favor of the institution of impersonal law. It is the veil that covers the individual, transforming them into a conduit of a higher authority, an authority that imposes limits and discipline. And the forms, the geometry of these attires, straight cuts, severe lines, absence of superfluous ornamentation that would distract from the seriousness of the function. There is no room for frivolity in the presence of law, nor in the sanctuary of ritual that seeks to connect with the eternal. It is pure form, unbreakable structure, evoking the inflexibility of the principles they embody. Think of the hair shirt, of ascetics, of the vows of poverty and obedience that bind the monk to a path of renunciation and discipline. Are these not the most direct manifestation of the Saturnine energy of self-restriction, of self-imposed limitation as a path of purification and transcendence? Let us move to rituals, those codified acts repeated with millennial precision. Every gesture, every word, every step in a liturgical ceremony or a judicial process is predefined, not left to chance. There is an order, an immutable sequence, a set time for each action. The repetition itself, the rigidity of form, the observance of calendars and canonical hours all resonate with the chronological and structuring nature of Saturn. These are mechanisms that, through conscious or unconscious repetition, engrave patterns in the collective subconscious, reinforcing obedience to a higher law, whether divine or human. They anchor us in time and space, in a reality designed by an ancient intelligence. And the hierarchies. In every religion, in every justice system, there exists an unmovable pyramid of power and authority. From the layman to the high priest, from the citizen to the Supreme Court judge, the levels are clearly defined, responsibilities delineated, and paths of ascent rigorously controlled. This vertical, unbreakable structure, which demands obedience and respect toward higher ranks, is the quintessence of Saturnine organization. It is the principle of cosmic order manifested in society, the gear that holds the social machine together, but which, in turn, limits spontaneous movement, anarchic expression. It is the law that defines one's place, the obligation to fulfill the assigned role within the great theater of existence. In justice systems, the symbolism becomes even more evident. The law itself is the manifestation of Saturn, a set of rules that define what is permitted and forbidden, that establish the consequences of transgression. Prisons, those boxes of stone and iron, are the epitome of Saturnine restriction, places where time seems to stop for the incarcerated, where space is reduced to its minimum expression. They are the microcosm of the black cube, the physical representation of extreme limitation imposed by society to correct or contain deviation from the norm. Judges, in their black robes, seated on their elevated benches, act as the timekeepers of social karma, weighing human actions against the immutable weight of the law. But is this omnipresent influence of Saturn in our social and religious structures a mere historical coincidence, a natural evolution of the need for order, or is it the signature of a guiding intelligence that has imbued these archetypes into the collective psyche for a greater purpose? What do the shadows of these solemn vestments conceal? What truth do the repetitive rituals guard? And what truly lies behind the impregnable facade of these hierarchies that, apparently, have ruled our destinies since time immemorial? Thus, beloved, seekers of truth, we glimpse that the relentless hand of SATURN, with its rigor and unbreakable frontiers, is not merely an external force that oppresses us, but the alchemical forge where the spirit is wrought, the crucible where the essence is purified of the impurities of ego and illusion. Every limit, every rule imposed since time immemorial, be it in the law of men or in cosmic cycles, does not seek to annul us, but to confront us with the ineludible need for self-mastery. The structures that seem to imprison us are, in truth, the pillars upon which we must build our own transcendence. Hierarchy, norm, linear time, are the severe teachers who remind us of the discipline necessary to ascend the ladder of enlightenment. The shadow of Cronus is not the end, but the path, the darkness that precedes the dawn of consciousness. It is in the confrontation with this archaic truth that true power resides, not in blind rebellion against form, but in the deep understanding of its purpose and in the subsequent conscious liberation from its self-imposed chains. But then, what truly lies hidden behind the impregnable facades of these hierarchies that, apparently, have governed our destiny? Since time immemorial? Are these prisons of mind and spirit a necessary trial, or the work of forgotten architects who still guide us towards an end that escapes our comprehension? And what if true freedom lies not in escaping the cube, but in transforming it from within, in decoding the hidden law that sustains it, thus revealing the master key to our own existence? Ancient wisdom is not a privilege of a few, but a legacy for all who dare to seek it with an open heart and an awakened mind. If these words have resonated in the echo of your soul, if you feel the call to unravel the threads of destiny and the truth beyond the veil of the apparent, I invite you to join this brotherhood of seekers. Subscribe to our channel, share this knowledge with those who still sleep in the penumbra of ignorance, and together, let us raise the frequency of collective understanding. Every mind that awakens is a torch that illuminates the path for others, dispelling millennial shadows. To continue your journey towards inner alchemy and unveil the arcana of our existence, I offer you a portal to the next stage of your enlightenment. Click here to delve into our next video, The Mirror of Cronus, the true mastery of time, where we will explore how a deep understanding of this primordial archetype can be the key to unlocking your destiny and forging your own eternity.